Not only did you go to Fan Expo without me, but you went back again, Nicholas. You went
Mm,
twice.
I did.
Not cool. Not cool, brother.
Hey, it's not my fault that you were in, who knows where the hell that wasn't somehow flooded in Vermont.
You know what? I'll tell you what. We had an absolute ball. All joking aside, we had an absolute ball. My daughter learned how to make her own fire, how to put it out. We learned a lot of valuable life skills
Oh,
there.
wow.
Yeah, and I was doing it all while drinking beer. So responsible parenting. But
Sure.
with
Always.
with that
That's
said,
you.
Nicholas, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Are we not getting like the full-fledged intro at this
Ladies
point?
and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all ages, never interrupt me, Nicholas. Let me do my thing. And now I completely forgot.
I'm not talking. Don't blame this
The
shit
Don't
on me.
Shake Universe and Geeks Worldwide Radio proudly presents you the greatest podcasting team in the world. He's the interrupter, Nick Fryer. I'm your friendly neighborhood backpacker, Dr. Joe. And together we are off the rails, baby, to start issue 84 of TLDR. Nicholas, how you doing?
I'm doing great because today we're talking about adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters. So It's been a long time since we've done this, and we're just going to do that right off the rip today in honor of TMNT Mutant Mayhem. But in all seriousness, Joe, I am doing just splendid. I had a blast at Boston Fan Expo. Part of, it's a fun time. You get to see a lot of other comic book fans, all the people cosplaying. There are actors and actresses there, of course, despite all the strikes that are going on. But my favorite part is your favorite part, which is Artist Alley. We also see writers there as well. And got to check in with some friends of the show, Ryan Parrott. Got a ton of stuff from him. Didn't blow up a spot this year. And is it a coincidence that I didn't blow up a spot and you weren't there to help blow up a spot?
Yeah, but you blew up someone else's spot, perhaps?
I don't know if I did that, but I did get to talk to John Boy Myers, who we hadn't talked to in quite some time. It was good to check in with him. And God, I love Ryan, and Ryan's great. John Boy might be the nicest person in all of comics, though. No joke.
Was John Boy there last year?
He was not there last year. Ryan was there last year.
Yeah.
Both great guys.
I'm bummed out I missed it, but you thankfully sent me when next year's. They keep like making it earlier and earlier and earlier, so I made sure to block off next fucking June. It went from like 2 years in a row being like the second to last weekend in August, and now it was the first weekend in August, and now it's the last weekend in June. Like, come on, guys.
Who does? Yeah, I don't know what the hell is going on with that. But had a great time talking with them. Probably talked to them too much, and they maybe never come on the show again. But then also got to meet some other creators who I haven't spoken with before. Jonathan Glapian, which I actually believe I'm saying his last name incorrect there. It's like there's like an accent to it. But him and Jerry Duggan, of course, who went and broke everybody's hearts, stunned them with the Hellfire Gala. So very excited talking to those two. Got a lot of great insight from them. Also, Glapian showed me a character for his new series that's coming out later next year, and it's horror-ish series. And I was like, Joe is not going to read this just because of that.
Is that the one you tweeted out?
Yes.
Yeah,
I did.
That was fucked up.
Yep.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah,
but no. I love his cover work.
Oh no, wait a minute! I didn't tweet out the image of it. I don't.
Oh, that was something different that you tweeted out.
Something different. Yes.
Yeah. Well, that was fucked up too.
Yeah. No, he's a terrifying artist. I love his stuff. He's awesome.
Yeah, and he's done some great covers. The Spawn. So you were a very nice gentleman, Nicholas, and you grabbed me a print, and the Spawn with the Punisher logo in the background. Yeah, 100% is going up in back end,
dude. It's
bag
awesome.
end.
Yeah.
I just got to figure out where do I move Ted Williams to put that up? Maybe, I don't know, but yeah, that's got the other print as well. There was some great shit up there.
But, John Boy's. I was going through his stuff, and and this is again like he goes and he gives me a signed print, and I'm like, you don't need to do that. And then he goes and gives me one. I'm going to get one for you too, and then I see Erica Slaughter. I'm like, oh, well, this is it. Like, there's no questions asked. This is what I'm getting, Joe. Then he just gives me that one too. I'm like, what the hell are you doing, man?
He's a very, very nice. We love John Boy. He's great. And that cover, I know I have used a few times over on our Instagram page because it's so fucking awesome. But good shit. I'm glad you had a good time. I was bummed I wasn't there.
Had a blast, and maybe Ryan and John Boy hate me by the end of it all because I talked to them so much. I think that Glapian and Jerry Duggan maybe may or may not down the line see them appear on TLDR. We'll see. they had a nice time chatting with both of them, that's for sure. Speaking of people joining the show, that is the only way you can ever hear those conversations where we have Ryan Parrott on, or John Boy Myers, or possibly Jerry Duggan or Jonathan Glapian later on down the line. The only place that you can hear those conversations are on our audio channel. So that's on Apple, Stitcher, whenever that goes defunct, Spotify, Geeks Worldwide Radio, SoundCloud, Amazon, all the major podcasting platforms, and some of the lesser known ones as well too. Make sure you subscribe there, leave a 5-star rating and review. If it's Apple, whatever else it is for the other sites, make sure it's the highest rating that you can give us. Otherwise, you're going to learn the real meaning of Backcracker. But yeah, so enough about that. Let's get into catching up. And on that note, a book that I did pick up from Jerry Duggan is his Image comic. It's a series technically still, but it came out as a graphic novel. The first volume, the second volume is coming out later in the year. The Dark Room. So obviously dibs on this. This came out in June, late June of last year, Joe. And I will be talking about this fairly soon because I've already started. I read the prologue and then the first chapter, and it absolutely fucking slaps. It's so damn good. And then also on top of that, we may or may not have a Manga Madness coming up at some point down the line, and I don't want to say what book it is that I've been reading, but I did crush the first volume of the manga that I was hoping to talk about on the show. Oh my god, it's right up my alley. It's so fucking weird, and it's metal too. So I loved it. But what have you been catching?
And I can't wait to have Scrim on for that as well.
Mhm.
I didn't read a ton because I was away this weekend, but Ghost Rider issue 16. Read that because after we'll talk about Ghost Rider Wolverine Weapons of Vengeance in a moment, but needed to go back and read that and catch up on that. Absolutely excellent. And then finally I can put this GD book I can put myself out of my misery by reading this thing, The Last Ronin, The Lost Years, issue 5. Surprisingly enough, it was probably the best issue of the series,
Really?
'cause it had just one page of the Young Turtles, and I felt like this entire series was pointless and added absolutely nothing. It added absolutely nothing to the Last Ronin story, which was excellent.
That's too bad.
But its entire purpose, I swear, was to introduce a new generation of turtles that I don't give a fuck about. They look stupid.
Yeah.
And I don't care. So, but I had to finish it.
Very curious how because it seems like they're going to do more with those characters in the future. I'm very curious how that ends up doing because it's an interesting decision. But hey, if there's ever a time to try out new TMNT stuff, it's right now because Mutant Mayhem was so fucking good. I can't wait for you to watch this thing, man. You're going to have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I probably won't see it until it comes out on streaming because we wanted to, there's no way we're going to see it without Swaggins, and I don't want to take her to the theater to see it. I want to be able to watch it at home, and then if it's either, too much, whatever, we could pause it or we could stop it or we could fast forward or whatever. So it'll probably be a while before I see that, but I am pumped and jacked to see it. That's for damn sure.
As someone who obviously does not have kids at this stage in my life, we've talked before about how it's just like it's like you feel more comfortable saying like this is appropriate for this age and that age with different things that we're talking about. I've generally been like, whatever, that's fine. Like, yeah, obviously this isn't for kids of a certain age, or obviously this is. But when you and I were talking about Mutant Mayhem after I saw it, I've never felt more like I genuinely don't know what to tell you to do here. Like we had to talk through I didn't spoil anything for you, but we had to talk through some stuff. And I was like, I at first I would have said, yeah, she's probably fine. But then by the end of it, I'm like, yeah, no, she wouldn't, it'd be dicey.
I liked knowing that there wasn't any blood.
Yep.
And that the action scenes weren't over the top, violent.
Mm-hmm.
But action scenes, loud, in a theater, some scary imagery. There would probably not be a wonderful theater experience. So we'll save that for at home. But I am dying to see it.
You're gonna like it.
I'm sure.
You're gonna have a fun fucking time.
You're gonna have a good time.
All right, let's get into what's new. We got a whole lot of stuff coming up. Before you get into Marvel, we do have a couple trades that are out this week. We have Behold Behemoth which you will talk about at some point on the show down the line. Wind, Book 3, The Throne in the Sky, which you've already spoken about, Wind. And then this little thing called Damn Them All, Volume 1, which someone may or may not be talking about on this very episode of TLDR. But that's a conversation for later, Joe. What's coming out from Marvel this week?
They know you're talking about it, dummy, because I tweeted it out. But that's okay. That's okay. I get what you're trying to do. You're trying to build it up. I got it. I see what you're doing. I got you. I got you.
Kick me on
yeah, well, I can't kick up, Nicholas. I'm 3 feet off the ground. So what's new for the week of 8th for August 9th, 2023 from Marvel? We have The Amazing Spider-Man issue 31. We have Immortal X-Men issue 14. Spider-Man Annual issue 1, Miles Morales Spider-Man issue 9, The Avengers issue 4, Star Wars issue 37, Guardians of the Galaxy issue 5, Red Goblin issue 7, Silk issue 4, Children of the Vault, speaking of Jerry Duggan, issue 1, Captain Marvel Dark Tempest issue 2, Return of the Jedi's Max Rebo issue 1, and then Nicholas, the book from Marvel that we've been dying to talk about and anticipating is Ghost Rider Wolverine Weapons of X issue 1. So this in and of itself isn't a series. It is it's an alpha or something of that nature. But it's part of it's part of an event.
Yes, it's Weapons of Vengeance. And actually, I never thought about this, Joe, where in the past you and I have been like
weapons. Or did I say Weapons of X? Yeah, Weapons of Vengeance.
We've talked before, like, what's the alpha thing? Like, what the hell does that mean when you're talking about these crossover things, or what is going on? But then I thought back, because Wes asked me what that was on Change My Mind during the comic book minute. And then I thought about it. I was like, wait a second. We had this same thing happen when it was the Hulk Thor crossover. And then what happened was it was the Hulk Thor like alpha issue. And then they went into the next chapter of the event happened in Hulk, and then Thor, and then Hulk, and then Thor, and so on. So it's like, and that's what's happening here. We have Alpha, then Ghost Rider, then Wolverine, then Omega, and then that's it.
Yeah, which is not bad. It looks like a total of 4 issues, like a crossover thing. So that's good. Like the Thor Hulk thing, I think was much more than that. It was several. It might have been an entire arc.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a bit much. But 1 issue of each, essentially 1 issue of Wolverine, 1 issue of Ghost Rider, and we're both reading those titles anyway. So, that is okay. But when it's like an entire arc, and you've got to read, both titles, or you've got to read a title that you're not currently reading.
That's the thing.
That's what really goes up my chute. And there's a lot of people that are probably just reading Wolverine, not reading Ghost Rider, and vice versa. And they might go up their chutes. But at least it's only 1 issue of each, which I think is palatable versus, an entire, arc. But with that said, did you get a chance to read it?
Oh, hell fucking yeah. I read this. Yeah. Had to.
Fucking excellent, man. There were some panels in here. This is with art by Jeff Shaw, who I believe was the artist on Crossover.
Bingo.
Right, with Donny Cates. So I love his art. I love his style. It's very comic booky, right? And there were some shots of Wolverine that were so fucking badass. But this story in general, that's why I went back and wanted to make sure. I was like, oh shit, I should probably go back and reread the last issue of Ghost Rider, which it didn't really tie into this at all, which was good. But I wanted to read that because issue 17 of Ghost Rider is going to tie into this, so I wanted to make sure I was all caught up and all that. But I love the idea that Percy's writing both of these books, and he's doing this crossover because that really is, we talk about like it's that one voice. He's he's got this all in his head, so it's all going to be. It's not like, oh, so and so is writing Thor here, so and so is writing Hulk here, whatever. And it seems a bit like the voices aren't exactly the same. The tone, the voice, the pacing of this, it fucking rips, man. This was a fucking excellent first issue.
Well, that's the thing with these like little mini events, because Hulk and Thor was Donny Cates.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Right.
But either way, like I'm here for that. Like I would love to see more of that in Marvel, in DC, where you and I are like generally, sometimes we're going to be checking out events, sure, but then also like when sometimes it can be a little bit much. When we get these 2 titles and it's the same writer on those 2 titles, I'm very open to that
Yeah.
experience, because like we have somebody who understands these characters. They're not just jamming it in for the sake of jamming it in. Now, at the same time, I know Benjamin Percy loves Ghost Rider, he loves Wolverine, and he wants to like he thinks they both would fit very well together. I agree with that, but at the same time, like I know he's not just doing this for the sake of doing it. This is a cool story that people are going to like, and you're bringing these two characters together, and it's all making sense. And I loved the start of this first issue where we get a bit of a flashback, and then
Yeah.
it's tying into what's going on now, and it sets the stage perfectly for what's going on. And I agree, a ton of really cool Wolverine imagery, some really cool Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider imagery as well. I mean, even that the final page too is a splash, and it's just like
Yeah.
just Jeff Shaw does a great job in this across this whole issue.
Yeah, I love sort of that the way these two characters, how Ben sort of wrote it, so how these two characters sort of came to be allies, so to speak, and
Yep.
there was a juxtaposition between the two. It was really good. So if you haven't been reading Ghost Rider, and that's the thing too, like you don't have to have had read previous
Yep.
Wolverine books, or the 30 something Wolverine books, or the previous 16 Ghost Rider books. You could literally read this and probably read the next Wolverine book, the next Ghost Rider book, and then the Omega, and have a nice, tight, awesome, kick-ass little story, and
100%.
not feel like you've got to go back and like, oh, I got to read like 40 issues of comic books just to get caught up for this thing. I think that was really well done and really well planned out. So that, and it's also a good way to like bring new readers into each of those titles if they hadn't been reading them previously,
Yes,
or reading one versus the other.
because if you read this first issue, and I would assume that Ben's done a great job on both titles. If you read this event again, assuming it trends in the direction that it started, like you're gonna want to go back and read all of Wolverine. You're gonna want to go back and read all of Ghost Rider, because Benjamin Percy's done an outstanding job. And if you've listened to the show for even like a month, you know how much we love what he's done on both of those titles. And also, like, there's some cool covers here, but Stegman absolutely, no shock here. Stegman
Yeah.
absolutely has the best freaking cover. It's so it's the main cover too, but it's so fucking cool. I love when the main cover is the best cover.
Yeah, it's the best one of the bunch, but I will say there is a cover I do like. It's very simple. It's just the 3 slash marks. It's just Wolverine's claws.
Yep,
Right?
yep.
That is simple. And just aesthetically, it just looks cool, because you see that and you automatically you're gonna go to Wolverine. But hands down, I was when I was doing the Instagram post today for tomorrow's or for this week's What's New post on Instagram, you will see Stegman's cover on there, and it is absolutely the best one.
Yeah, and there's some throwback stuff there too that's pretty cool. But anyways, let's move on to DC Comics. So we got Superman 2023 annual out this week, Night Terrors issue 3, which actually I did catch up on this. And it's solid. It's not like it's nothing like mind blowing. I do like getting more on Boston in this in DC, and then also Robin enters the mix in this too, and it's Williamson writing this stuff, so he has a very good feel for Robin, because Joe's talked about that series on the show a while back. Then we got Night Terrors, like the other like stories within this event, the second issue of Green Lantern, Shazam, The Flash, Zatanna. Also, Robin, I didn't get a chance to read this one yet, but it is on my short list to go check out, because I did read the first one and I like that. Also forgot to mention in catching up, Joe, Peacemaker Tries Hard, the latest issue of that. Just that series is fucking awesome. This week we also have World's Finest Teen Titans issue 2, Danger Street issue 8, Spirit World issue 4, Batman Incorporated issue 11, Wildcats issue 10, Multiversity Harley Screws Up the DCU issue 6, The Batman and Scooby-Doo Mysteries issue 11, and Mad 33.
All right. So from our friends at AWA Studios, I got to tell you something, Nicholas. I mentioned this, I think, last week. It's been a long time, right, since AWA's missed. And so this week we have the Madness issue 1, written by J. Michael Straczynski.
Wait, I thought I had dibs on this. You read this?
Yeah.
Huh.
Good try, Chief. Good try, Chief. You're gonna love what I'm gonna have to say here. So, I mean, we've had Sacrament, we've had Black Tape, we've had Trojan, like all these like Year Zero, Volume 0. we're on the cover. Books that have come out, you know, amongst other kick-ass books. Nicholas, this might be my favorite first issue out of all of them.
Really?
And I don't know
Cover's
what I will.
awesome, man. I'm
The
excited.
cover's awesome.
Yeah.
So what really hit me in this first issue, like we always talk about, right at the end, it needs to you know sink its teeth into you. And what's great about this book is there's such great buildup. You know, we talked about it in the solicit, where it's basically like a quasi Robin Hood type
Mhm.
hero who is robbing from the rich, mostly rich assholes, and then keeping it for themselves. And we get introduced to the main character, and we find out that her superpower. This is one of the things I loved about it. She can only use one superpower at a time. So if she's going to use invincibility, she can't fly. Or if she's gonna use flying, she can't do it at super speed. Stuff like that, right? So
She has
that's
all
a
the powers pretty much, though?
she's got a lot of different powers, but she can only use one at a time, which is awesome because it made me think a little bit of Erratic, where
Mhm.
the main character there can only use that superpower for 15 minutes, whatever it is. So I thought that was a really cool premise, but there's a moment that happens in this book, Nicholas, where this character is like everything changes for her, and it hit me. It was very impactful, and it was very emotional and gutting. And what that does is it sets up sort of where this book is going to go, the direction that it's going to go in, and is going to be something absolutely epic. And like I said, Sacrament, Black Tape, Absolution, Trojan, like all these books, they're all fucking awesome books. We
Mhm.
love them all. I've loved them all. They've all been great in their own ways for different reasons.
Mhm.
But this first issue, Nicholas, I could tell you, as soon as I finished reading, I go, that this is definitely my book of the week, but this might be my favorite number one from AWA this year. It was absolutely
This
fantastic.
year, okay, this year. Yeah, okay, because when you say your favorite from them, period, I can understand recency bias, but I was thinking you meant like all time, which is just like a powerful statement. Like,
I would have a hard time ranking AWA books if we're being honest. That would be a very difficult thing for me to
yes,
do.
because
But like,
you
we
put
oh, I just
yourself in such a pretzel if you did that. I can
oh
imagine that.
Jesus,
Like,
yeah, I wouldn't be able to do it.
this is
It'd
at
be
like
like
number 25, and it's like,
this is
oh
this
no,
this is 1A, this is 1B, this is 1C, this is one. It would just
one
be like,
Z.
yeah, you know, absolutely wild. But like, there was just something about this. I finished it. I go, yeah, this is fucking awesome. I
Yeah,
really enjoyed this. So this is going to be an excellent series, and I can't wait to talk about it on the
I'll
show.
tell you what, ACO did the main cover for this, and he is the artist on this too. If that main cover, if that cover is an accurate representation of the art that he's putting out in the interiors, whew, oh
Yeah,
man, that's gonna be fucking good.
everything about it. It was perfect. Absolutely excellent.
You suck. All right, let's move over to Boom. We got 4 issues out from them this week, and we're reading 3 of them. Mech Cadets issue 1 is the one that we are not reading. Although maybe you'll check that out because, like, you have that rule with AWA. You also have it with Boom. If it's number 1, you read it. House of Slaughter issue 16. Are you still on this train or no? Because I know we've had a lot of
Yep, I read it. It's the last arc. It's definitely gotten better. The first arc just wasn't my favorite. Second arc got better, and it's progressively gotten better.
Okay. Ghost Lore issue 4 from friend of the show, Cullen Bunn. And then Damn Them All issue 7, which I did not read out of the interest of not bogging down my mind with new information for the conversation today, because Lord knows I would have done that. Anyways, then we move to Dark Horse.
Yes, so we have Murder Inc., Jagger Rose, issue 4, Killer Queens 2, issue 1, Masquerade, issue 7, and then we have 2 books here that we'll talk. How about you kick us off here from Dark Horse, Nicholas?
Dude, Barnstormers is so fucking good. Oh
Told you.
my god, the first. So again, for those who don't know, Joe talked about it on the show. He read all of it on Comixology. We had split it up, done this whole draft and everything for Scottober. With the Dark Horse releases of these series, Barnstormers 1 has the first and second issues from Comixology. So it's basically like a double-sized issue. Barnstormers 2 is actually issues 3 and 4 from Comixology. Again, double-sized issue. And oh my God, I absolutely love this series. You are so right. Like, this is like we both went into this like, okay, Tulate is an interesting artist. Obviously, we love Scott Snyder's work, but this is not this the backdrop of barnstorming is not something that you and I particularly care about. We know Scott's passionate about it, but holy shit, man, the journey that we have gone on through, for me now, these first 4 issues and the surprises, the wild developments, and also like, again, Tula Lotay is an amazing artist. Like, there are so many images that are in a way simple, but also in a way just like breathtaking. And she's so fucking talented. And I know she does a lot of cover work, but I need to see more people doing more stuff with her on interiors because it's so damn good. So yeah, Barnstormers is a can't miss series. And then when we talk about like ranking stuff, I really would not want to do it for these Scottober books because we had ones that we expected to be really good and they were really good, but then we've had ones where we were like, okay, like I'm excited, Scott's writing it, cool artist, whatever, and like we've been blown away by those. It would be very difficult to go and rank these.
Yeah. Oh, hands down, because it was this or Dudley Datsun, I think, was the last book. It might have been this one.
I had Dudley Datsun.
Dudley Datsun, and then what was the other one there?
Book of Evil. Oh, the one with Raphael Albuquerque. I can't remember what that one is, but that Duck and Cover.
Duck and Cover. I'm reading that one. So it was either that or this was like the last one that was kind of picked. I was like, but like I said, when I talked about it, like I was absolutely blown away. And as I said before, like Tula Lote's art, like you could take a panel or a cover of her work, frame it, and hang it in your house, hang it in your office, hang it in a fucking museum. It's gorgeous artwork.
Yeah, I'm looking at one image right now, and it's just like, God, it's seriously like there's simple images in this series that are just so like remarkably breathtaking. It's like this is like we've talked about this before, where we see certain artists where it's like they're not comic book artists, they're like artists. As much as we prefer comic book art over artists, like it's really cool to experience that in comic book form. And Tula Lotay is that. Like she's a fucking artist, man. Like, and we see like what's crazy to me is that I was looking at some of these, and when I say like some of this stuff simple, like the backgrounds is just kind of like basically the sky. And it could be like blue or maybe it's around sunset, but it's a very simple background. But the characters and the way that she draws them and the features that she highlights on them, it's not like this like overtly exaggerated stuff. It's just the way she emphasizes it. It's remarkable. And I'm reading it, and it's like I read the whole thing, and like the pacing on Scott's writing, like it's got good pacing to it, and I can kind of breeze through some of his writing sometimes. But with her art, it's like I kind of like I may read the whole thing, and then I just go back and like, all right, I need to like take this in a little bit more. It's that fucking good.
Yeah, I think the distinction you want to make is they're all wonderful artists, right? Fine art, right? She is a wonderful fine artist.
There
right?
you go.
You want to make that distinction because you don't want to insult our good friends who are very talented artists by just calling them comic book artists.
Nicholas. You're right. I'm an asshole and I don't know how to phrase things. That's why you're in charge of the show.
Pretty much.
What we got one other book from Dark Horse this week that we've both been reading. I didn't get a chance to check this out yet though.
Yeah, I won't dive too much into it because I want you to read it. Because again, like this is Survival issue 4, written by Sean Lewis. This is a book that just gets better and better with each issue, and this is this book might have be the emotional center of this series so far, because we've seen the relationship is strained between the kids and the father, and it really sort of comes to a head here. But I sent you a picture of a panel from this book. The art in this is absolutely fantastic. I mean, the book rips. It's got a lot of emotional elements to it. Like the survival, like that couldn't be any better title for this book, because that's what all these characters are they're fighting literally for their lives. And I love Sean, man. Not a lot make it out, and it's vicious in both the writing and the art. So if you haven't been reading Survival, get on it. Go get back copies. Have your local comic book shop order back copies. You should be fucking reading this book. You're gonna absolutely love it, man. And you'll see what leads up to that thing that I sent you, man. This is just nonstop action from start to finish, but with some good emotional punches to it.
Nice. So more
Yeah.
heat from Sean and more another good week from Dark Horse. I'll breeze through these. I know we got one more book we want to talk about before we get into the actual trades that we want to break down. So IDW, Godzilla, Here There Be Dragons issue 2, Star Trek, The Motion Picture, Echoes issue 4, My Little Pony, The Best of Pinkie Pie issue 1. From Titan, we got the second issue of Heat Seeker, a gun hunting series. Scarlet Couture, the Munich File issue 1, Rivers of London, Here Be Dragons issue 2. That's odd. We're getting a lot of dragons that are here apparently. Dynamite, Gargoyles, Dark Ages issue 2, Mad Cave, You've Been Canceled, which I'm assuming that's issue 2. A Legacy of Violence issue 8, and then we have Image, where there's Swan Songs issue 2, which I've been friggin' meaning to read. I still haven't read the first issue.
Yeah, because I forgot this is M. Maxwell Price is the writer, and then there's the different artists on each one. So this one is Swan Songs issue 2 is Casper Wingard. Issue 1 was Martin Simmons. Right. So yeah, because it's like I knew about it, and then it like sort of escaped me, and I'm like, Swan Songs, what is that? Is Casper Wingard? I didn't think Casper Wingard was starting a new series just yet. And then I go, oh fuck, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So we got to check this one out.
I have the first issue like on my pile at home, and it's been like because there's certain things that we got to continue talking about. Sometimes like first issues can fall like by the wayside on us when that happens. But yeah, so Swan Songs issue 2 is out this week. Kaya issue 10, Untold Tales of I Hate Fairyland issue 2, Stoneheart issue 6, Weird Work issue 2, Gunslinger Spawn issue 23, which I did catch up on 22. I did not read 23 yet.
No, 23 rips. It's good.
I don't. Maybe I did read it because I remember seeing this cover. Yeah, I did. I did read. I'm sorry, I did read issue 23. Yeah, some awesome stuff. A fuck ton of action in this. Actually, no, I didn't. I was incorrect. Anyways, that was a ton of action.
Ton of action in 23 as well.
All right, good to know. But there's another first issue that's coming out from Image this week that you want to talk about.
So I talked about that Texas Blood back on the show a while ago. Absolutely loved it. So this week we have the Enfield Gang Massacre issue 1, which takes place like 100 years in the past. It's sort of like the origin story of the place that that Texas Blood takes place. And so the writer's Chris Condon, art by Jacob Phillips, and it's just a kick-ass Western. I mean, if you love that Texas Blood, you're gonna love this, right? There's a bunch of outlaws that are sort of running this up-and-coming town. It doesn't even have any real police, any real authority figures yet. So the outlaws are just there, like they're robbing the bank on like a fucking weekly basis. The robber and the bank teller know each other, for Pete's sake. And so what it's setting up, so there was law everywhere, right? And so they're setting that up. So this should be a great little tie-in series to that Texas Blood. And if you haven't been reading that Texas Blood, get on it. You're gonna absolutely. Rich Keefe of the Dork Podcast read it, absolutely loved it. So excellent series, excellent first issue here. The Enfield Gang Massacre issue 1. Go out, pick it up. You're gonna if you love good Western, good storytelling, great art, you're gonna love this book.
Nice. Cool. All right. It is now time for us to get into the two series that we wanted to dig into this week, because this is a mainline episode, Joe. And I don't know if we're going to get to, as I check the calendar, I don't know if we're going to get to 100 this year, which is kind of shocking. In reality, we kind of have, but that's a conversation for another day. But we're trending to at least get to 90 by year's end. So we got that going for us.
We've been kind of humming the past month and a half with mainline issues, which is nice.
Yeah.
If we can get another trade in, Oh yeah. Well, we were just busy getting our quotes on covers of books. No
Yeah.
big deal.
Yep.
But
Not a big deal.
anyways, not a big deal. No big thing. I don't have the book hanging on my wall or anything. So this
You still have
so
mine. I need to fucking get mine. I want it so bad.
it's
I
gonna
want
cost
that
you.
so bad.
It's gonna cost you. Uh, I'm
Ah,
gonna
I can
hold it
go give you
ransom.
the stuff from John Boy then. How about that?
Okay, fair trade. We just struck a deal. See how that works.
Big time.
So so this week, if you let me continue there, Nicholas,
Fine.
I'm discussing it this week. I'm discussing a book I've been dying to talk about, and it just wrapped up recently. But this is another case of I read the first issue. Go, yep, that's a TLDR book, and that of course is Nightclub, written by Mark Millar, with art by Juan and Ramirez, colors by Fabiana Mascalo, and letters by Clem Robbins. And this, of course, is from Image Comics slash Millar World, which is Millar's sort of imprint over there. And synopsis: You're 17 years old and you've been bitten by a vampire. Do you live in the shadows and drink human blood, or do you use your newfound gifts for the dream costume superhero life you've always wanted? You're bulletproof, you can crawl up walls, you can turn into mist, bats, or even a wolf. Why not have a little fun? So this series, this first arc, I should say, because it does, end by saying, that'll be coming back, is 6 issues. And what I love about this book, Nicholas, is that it's and I think a big part of why we love Spider-Man so much, or when we first, is that Peter Parker started off, he was a high school kid with these newfound powers and just trying to figure shit out, right? And we love, whether it's in the comic book movies or in the comic books, when someone gets their new powers, they're trying to figure shit out and all that. But I love the idea of like high school kids, being given superpowers, because if you think back to yourself when you were a teenager, you were probably a real piece of shit, right? Slick back hair, all that.
White
But
couch.
like, right, slapsticks. But like when you're a teenager, you're prone to making mistakes, right? You think you know everything, you think you have all the answers, and you don't, right? And we get a lot of that in this series. And so I just love that premise of like, you're dealing with a bunch of high school kids here, and you just know, like, from the onset, like, these kids are going to fuck up somehow. And what I love about it is the way the book starts off is you got three good friends, right? Three best friends that anyone's ever had.
Hmm.
And it's, you've got your clear leader of the group. You've got the sort of the husky guy who's recording everything, and then you've got the young girl who is potentially a love interest. She's probably the moral compass of the group, right? But the main guy here, Danny, he wants to become. They all want to become YouTube stars, so they're doing parkour shit and all
Parkour.
this, right? Parkour. And they're just, so you got the dude, he's filming it, and they're trying to, create content, right? And what I love about it is that the main character here, Danny, he's so fucking full of himself, and he's so determined that he goes to do this fucking wild parkour. And yeah, he misses his spot, so to speak, and he ends up, you think he's either dead or a quadriplegic. He's in a hospital. So that's how this book starts. And while he's there, there's some. So I am not terribly familiar with Juan and Ramirez's art. Excellent, excellent, excellent art. And there's a scenes where, this is all first issue stuff. Uh, there's some scenes where this kid's he's paralyzed. He's in a hospital bed, and the nurse is checking in on him. And then in the background, you kind of see it, like, you see the front of the nurse, and she's tending to him, and you just see this sort of figure come out of the shadows, and then boom, and then all of a sudden he is attacking, Danny, and turning him into a vampire, and you don't know why, and you're like, what the fuck is this? And it, you get sort of fast forwards, and next thing you know, you see Danny, he's in a strange house, and all of a sudden he's being told, yep, you're a vampire now. And the guy that turned him is a former detective who's obviously a vampire himself, and he's trying to recruit people to sort of exact, vengeance, take out, you know, really bad guys, take
Ooh.
out, these group of vampires that have just been terrorizing people for, for hundreds of years. So I really liked that setup, and that, and sort of how, like, that origin of how we're introduced to our main characters, sort of why he was chosen or sort of selected to be a vampire. It's not because he possessed, any unique qualities, or he was demonstrated that he was a sort of an excellent member of society. And this guy was like, no, he's just sort of trolling the hospital, and he sees a young kid who's in relatively good shape, and says, "Yeah, I could use this guy, right, in my mission." And then you get a whole bunch of him trying to explain to him what being a vampire is all about, his newfound powers, sort of explaining to him the cans and can't do's, like, you obviously can't go out and light anymore, son, right? Because the sun will kill you. So it's like really cool. And then, like, so what he does is, to be able to survive out in the daytime, he wears like sort of this luchador mask and this luchador sort of
Oh,
outfit,
that's where
right?
those come from.
Right. So that's sort of what you see on the cover of the comic books there. And he's out there, and he's kind of just having fun with his powers. And then he sneaks up on his friends, and they can't believe it's him because they think he's still in the hospital, like paralyzed. It's a quadriplegic. And he explains to them sort of what happened. And one of the cool things about being a vampire is they can sort of play with people's minds. So it's how I was able to, like, his mom obviously knew he was paralyzed, but he was able to sort of, like, just a cool little easy kind of thing to, make that,
Mhm.
plot sort of work. But he's hanging out with his friends, and he's like, guys, we could really become YouTube famous now. I've got all these kick-ass powers. I can do the parkour shit that I couldn't do before and not die, right? Or become paralyzed. Like, we could really become. And I love that. He's still, like, obsessed. Like, he's got all these cool things. It's not about, like, oh, I can, like, do all this good in the world, or hell, I could, become a super bad guy if I want to. He still wanted to, like, become YouTube famous. And he's able to, he sort of floats this idea. It's like, well, what if I turned you guys, and then we all had these powers, and then we could all, like, really do some cool YouTube shit. And so, like, the fat friend who gets bullied at school, he surprisingly was against it. He didn't want to do it, but the
Huh.
girl was like, yeah, I'm all for it. So, like, you get these really cool shots. So, but he ends up, they end up all becoming vampires. And then, like, you think at first you're sort of in line for just sort of this cool sort of teenage, okay, these dipshits are just gonna go, they're gonna get into some things, and it's just gonna kind of be fun and games, and sort of, but where is it really gonna go? And then the way the story pivots, and you're really not introduced to the main antagonists until the third issue. So you got the first two issues of, like, just a lot of, like, good background, character development, while still there being a lot of action. Because what these guys are doing is, like, they start off wanting to become YouTube famous, but then, like, they find themselves in a position where they can help someone, and they do. And so the female character, whose name is Amy, says, actually, why don't we actually try to do more good? Like, again, she's the moral compass, of the group. And so then they start, like, okay, we're going to be superheroes now. But as they're doing superhero stuff, right, they keep fucking up, right? Like, if there's a situation where you can make the wrong decision, they do it. And it's not on purpose. They just don't know how to control their powers. They don't know how to, they just don't know what the fuck they're doing. And shit gets fucked up. And the guy that, that turned them, his name's Detective Nick Lascaris. He's a vampire. He pulls them all in. He's like, what the fuck are you guys, And then like, from that third issue on, the action and the consequences and the way that Millar really turns this story around is fucking excellent. It's absolutely excellent. It goes from being just like a fun kind of, like, semi-violent, super potential superhero story with these teenage vampires to, like, oh shit, oh, I
Yeah.
didn't see that. I didn't see that coming. I
Huh.
didn't see that coming. Oh, these kids are fucked, and the bad guys are ruthless. And when you learn more about them and you get a little bit more about the backstory of Detective, Lascaris, this is 6 tight issues of excellent storytelling. Juan Ramirez's art, and Mascalo's coloring, absolutely fantastic. I mean, the action shots, the violence, it's vicious when it has to be, it's toned down when it needs to be, but it's just like it's full go, right? Really, like the it's full go, really, right from like the first issue. Like I said, it gives you sort of a lot of like your introduction stuff, but then once they get into it, man, it just doesn't stop, and it is absolutely excellent. So the main characters, this I've talked about, Danny Garcia. He's sort of the group leader. I said he's the first one to have been turned. He's you know he's the one that turns his friends, and he still wants to be YouTube famous, and but his growth, how he sort of matures throughout all of this. He's a great character. You've got Sam, who's his Danny's friend. He's a husky fella. He gets picked on a lot, but he sort of then, once he's turned and he sees what he can do, he wants to seek some vengeance of his own, on the bullies that were really giving him a hard time. And his character, you can kind of, I don't want to say anything without giving it away, but like there's some elements to him that you see that when you get to the end of the first arc, the end of by issue 6, he goes from just sort of being like a side kind of background character, like, oh, ooh, all right, let's see what you got, Sam. See what you got, my Sam.
Oh, this is your Sam. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Well, we relate. We're both husky fellas. And then you have Amy, who's part of the trio. Is she a love interest? Is she not a love interest? Right. That's another thing that plays into the triangle there between these friends. But like I said, she really is the moral compass of the group. Then you've got the detective, who's now a vampire. He's the one that's returning here. He's on a quest of his own. He's on this crusade. And you learning about how he was turned, his backstory, why he's on this fucking mission is, again, it's excellent storytelling. And it's his story is I don't want to say gut wrenching, but like there's some good, like, oh, like you really feel for the guy, and then you've got your main antagonists. Your names are Gunner, Sean, Sonny Jim, and Sadie, and they are real fucking pieces of shit. They are vicious.
People can change.
They're not these guys. And
I don't know about vampires.
Yeah, they figuratively literally suck. But they're great villains. They're great villains, and the epic climax that you get, the showdown, between the trio and these guys, absolutely awesome, absolutely epic, good shit.
Two thoughts that I have coming out of this. One is that I just love how like they get these powers and it's like, let's still do YouTube shit. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, it's very much a child way or even a teenager way of thinking. My other thing is a question. Now, if you think this would spoil things, then, plead the fifth by all means. But the way you talked about it, it sounds like there could be more to the story beyond these 6 issues. Do you feel like that would make sense then? Yes.
100%. Mm-hmm. Especially, especially some character development that happens throughout, it kind of builds very subtly. But then the way the last issue ends, like, I'm not going to say so, because I was going to make a comparison, but anyone who's watched the show will then get the comparison and then they'll know. And so I don't want to ruin anything, but the way you did the character development that happens at the end of the 6th issue, you go, okay, let's see where this goes. Let's see where it goes. So I can't wait for it. I believe it's going to become back. This was a pretty big, very popular title. I think it did very well, and like I said, the art, the storytelling, everything about it, the concept, the premise, this is an excellent book. This was a TLDR worthy book from the first page. So I'm excited for you to read it, because I think you're going to absolutely fucking love it.
Of course I am. It's vampires and it's Millar. Like, what the hell else? I don't need to hear much outside of that. The only other question to you is, obviously Ambassadors has ended, and I believe the trade of that is out this week, if I'm not mistaken. Is there do you like this more than that? or is
I love Ambassadors, but I enjoyed this a lot more.
okay?
Ambassadors was different. Ambassadors is turning regular people into superheroes.
We'll talk that on the show at some point, right,
Right. Yeah.
Ambassador?
Oh, 100%. And I probably should have talked about it, but it's different. The tone is different. There's some comparisons, but like from which like an enjoy like again, I don't want to say it from like an enjoyability factor, but I just love this better because I love this premise. It like I don't know, there was a lot of fun to be had with it,
Mm,
but then it also got really dark and fucked up at the same time, which
sure.
was excellent. Yeah,
Yeah, and I
the
think
characters were a lot more relatable too. I think.
yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. And well, and the other thing is too, like we are talking about the same writer, and it's like I really like both of your things. Like you have to like one more than the other. I mean, it only makes
Yeah,
sense to be odd.
yeah, and
Um.
this would make an excellent TV show,
Oh, okay. TV show.
excellent series. Yeah,
Okay, nice. Well, I'm excited to check this one out. I definitely will be doing getting on that ASAP. As for me this week, I do have another horror related type story. Where last time we did a mainline issue, you were talking Boom and I was talking Image. We flipped the script, and now I'm talking Boom this week. Damn them all, which I've mentioned quite a bit on this show previously. Written by friend of the show, Cy Spurrier, with art by Charlie Adlard. And you may be wondering, why do I recognize that name? Well, if you have heard of a little ditty called The Walking Dead, because after issue 6, so yeah, from 7 till the end, Charlie Adlard was the artist on that series. The colors were done by Sophie Dodgson and Shane Hannah I Cui. Cui. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. I apologize. And then letters are by Jim Campbell. So this is an ongoing title, and it came out 6 issues, and Boom kind of does this more than maybe Boom and Dark Horse are the two that do this more so, where they'll come out with a first arc, and then if it does well, they'll continue on with that story. We get that in some capacity, I think, with maybe with DC and Marvel, but it's like with those two smaller publishers, that seems to happen a little bit more. Maybe somewhat with Image, but obviously things are a little bit different. Just their business, the way they go about with their business is a little different. But this did get, up to an ongoing series. The 7th issue, as we mentioned earlier, is out this week, as is the trade. So nice and easy. Go pick up the trade, get the 7th issue, and you'll be all set. You can catch right up and then wait till next month. The synopsis on this series by Cy Spurrier and Charlie Adlard. This is from the trade, too. After the death of Ellie's Uncle Alfie, an infamous magician and occult detective, the 72 devils of the Ars Goetia, or Goetia, are mysteriously freed from their infernal realm. Meanwhile, Dora is suspicious of the untimely death of Alfie. As new terrors unfold, the two witness strange changes to the political landscape of Britain, a gibbering madness infecting the population. Legendary The Walking Dead, Charlie. Actually, I did want to keep this near. Okay. The legendary The Walking Dead artist Charlie Adlard teams up with Step by Bloody Step scribe Cy Spurrier, that's what we had him on the show to talk about, to bring readers the most macabre and tenacious new occult antihero since John Constantine. So you all know how I feel about John Constantine. Obviously, when this series came out, I called dibs on it, because once I heard, because I think for the first issue, it's not the synopsis is a little bit different, because there's a lot more. The synopsis is a little bit different, at least on League of Comic Geeks. But when I see, okay, we're getting a mage type character, and then Cy Spurrier, who's written Constantine, and I really enjoyed his run on Constantine, and that title got screwed over by the pandemic. I was like, okay, so maybe some stuff that he wanted to do over there, he's going to push those buttons with this character. And I don't know if that's exactly the case, but these two, like Constantine and Ellie Hawthorne, who is the main character of Damn Them All, are very, very similar. They would not get along. And my big thing is like, first of all, using Constantine in the synopsis is perfect. Like you're gonna bring in the right reader on that front, by and large. Because I do think there are some people who like Constantine where he's not at the set, like the the main character, or when he's the solo character. Like people want him to be teaming up or joining other characters maybe from the DC universe that again won't get along with him because nobody gets along with Constantine. But there are some characters that are like anti-heroes, Joe, like Wolverine. Wolverine is an anti-hero, and yes, he does like get more violent than the other X-Men, but at the same time, like there are very few times like there are select times in Wolverine's history where it's like, yeah, he's a bad guy. Like there are definitely times in his history, but it's not like Constantine, where when Constantine is, in my opinion, at his best, it's very much gray. Like he's a piece of shit, and yeah, he did like a decent thing, but like he did some pretty bad stuff too. It's like you don't know. Like to me, I don't know if the ends justified the means when Constantine is at his best. City of Demons. You've obviously read that. That was one of the first books I talked about on this show. I don't think he's quite there, but it's like he does like some shitty stuff at the end of that series out of necessity, but some shitty stuff nonetheless. In Cy Spurrier's run on Constantine, he was a genuine asshole, like 100%. And I don't think Ellie is as much of one, but she definitely moves to the beat of her own drum. She's the main
Some
character.
might say to the beat of jazz.
Yeah, some would say that. Yeah, I would say Damn Them All is definitely a cosmic gumbo. I think Cy Spurrier and Charlie Adler talked about that a lot. I think it's actually in the synopsis for the first issue.
They were joking about it backstage.
Yeah, there you go. I missed that. But anyways, so Ellie Hawthorne, main character, major Constantine vibes, and she's a magician. This first issue came out not too long after Newburn, and I was like, what the fuck? Like how did this happen? Where Newburn is what is it? It's a detective for the mob is the best way to describe him, right? Ellie Hawthorne is a magician for the mob.
I love that.
Yep,
I love that.
It's like what? I'm like, this is a great fucking idea. And the boss that she works for is Frankie, who is at he's a little more prominent in the beginning and then at the end of the first arc, not necessarily as much in the middle, but still an important character to note. Then we have Dora, who's a detective from the United States. As we mentioned before, this is all set in Britain. She comes from New Orleans to Britain following the death of Ellie's uncle, Alfie, who we learned about his death pretty quickly on in this. But Ellie's she's occupied with other stuff as much as she does have Alfie's death, but also Alfie was also a piece of shit. He may be more Constantine based on some of the stuff you learn about him over the course of this series. The big thing here is like you have a power that's been made available to the masses, and there's a lot of stuff they kind of allude to it in the synopsis that of some of the things that transpire in Britain throughout the course of this. And you get a taste of it in the first issue, but it evolves more and more and more throughout the course of the arc till you get to the very end, and it's like, wait a minute, what? It's like where you talk about like spinning a story on its fucking head. It's just you see where it's trending, and then you get this new nugget of information that brings you back to some stuff from earlier in the series, and then it gets expounded upon, and then it's like, oh really? Okay. So Cy Spurrier, he did an outstanding job, and also as one might expect, Cy, as much as he did Step by Bloody Step, where he doesn't write, there's no lines of dialogue other than like the few like lines of a different language that are not even in, I don't know what
alien speak, whatever it is.
Yeah. Alien speak. That's a great way to put it. Like he does, like he goes on, like he really likes to dig into stuff and provide a lot of detail and context and everything. So this is one where like it's a whole meal when you read each issue of Damn Them All. So this is not one of those ones where you can read this all in one sitting. I wouldn't think. It's also longer. I think it's like 180 pages was the trade. Maybe some of that's like, variant covers mixed in there too, because I was looking through that as well. And of course with Adlard, like we know he knows how to draw horror. I mean, you're the artist from issue 7 to 193 for The Walking Dead. Like, what you're doing. It's very gritty though, for those not familiar. And then the colors that we get from Dodson and Kui like very much complement his style. And also, like, I didn't realize there were two colorists on this. I was kind of surprised when I checked that afterwards, because like the colors in this one kind of flow. Like we talk sometimes where it like really like stands out, but when you're dealing with gritty style and then gritty colors, it kind of just all meshes together. But I would never have guessed that you had two colorists on any of these issues. So that was a bit of a surprise. And the last thing that I want to leave you on, just to bring it all back to the Constantine stuff. Like I said, when Constantine's at his best, he is like, it's borderline that he's like just like an asshole who like kind of does something good, but then does other bad stuff. That also means that no one is safe when Constantine is at his best. And
Right.
that's something to keep in mind when you go and pick this up.
Sweet. I can't wait. I remember I bought the first issue because I forgot you called dibs.
Yeah.
And then I asked you, I said,
should have chicken.
Because I sent you a picture of it, and you go, I called dibs. I said, oh, okay. So
you actually almost read it. You just pick it up. You almost read it.
I was picking it up to read it. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I was like, no, please. Like, I'm reading this, and this is right up my alley. This is my shit right here. I was so bummed when Spurrier's run ended on Constantine, and I was like, this. And if you like that run, like, you're gonna enjoy Damn Them All. It's awesome stuff. It is can't miss. Seriously, like it's very cool, very dark, very gritty, nasty series, and I'm excited right now. If you go on League of Comic Geeks, we're seeing 7, 8, and 9 are listed. As I mentioned, 7 is coming out. Is out now. Then it's solicited through October. Actually, the 9th issue comes out on my birthday. But we'll see. Like, I'm assuming this is a 6-issue arc, so hopefully it continues on and on, because this is a character who has the potential to go on as long as readers are reading it, and as long as Sai wants to be writing this character.
Love that. Love that. That sounds fantastic.
All right. That is going to do it for us this week, unless you have anything else before we go.
No, I'm good. I just want to real quick. Hold on.
Okay. Oh, wow. Oh, right. Wow.
Want to say hi to my friend Sheldon. Got my Blue Jays hat on. Got my Mandalorian t-shirt on.
Look at that.
Yeah, Ryan Parrott wanted to talk more sports.
Oh, that's right. I forgot to mention that Ryan wants to talk more sports. Yeah. Yes. Well, can we talk about how the Blue Jays are now the Red Sox daddy?
Yeah, damn right they are. Fucking Red Sox. I love this. I was scrolling through Twitter last night, and I love this thing. Oh, epic come from behind win by the Red Sox. Well, they should have fucking lost the game because that motherfucker swung at that pitch. He was out. Reyes never should have had the fucking at bat that he had. I mean, yeah, they won. What would he do? They'll probably go lose another 6 straight, because that's what they do. But this is for Sheldon. So if you're watching or you're listening, got my Blue Jays cap on, got my Mandalorian shirt on. We know he did the cover with of the armorer there. So absolutely cool. Love it. So
by the way, I still can't believe that Tim Anderson got knocked on his ass.
He got suspended for more games.
Oh, did he? Oh, he threw the first punch, in fairness. But yeah, that was. Well, I thought. See, the thing is, like, again, it's like it doesn't necessarily matter how many hits you get, and it's who gets in the biggest hit.
He got knocked the fuck out.
He got 2 hits on Ramirez, and the second one, I was like, oh, that's a pretty good one. And then Ramirez got him. Honestly, like, hey, I'm not a MMA or boxing guy. Like, I don't know. I can't break that down like I can break down pitching. But I didn't think that Ramirez got him clean. But holy shit, maybe Tim Anderson just can't take a punch.
Well, no one was taking that punch, because I'll tell you, like, Ramirez went like, he's a squat fellow, he's compact, right? And he wasn't even looking at Anderson. If I recall the video correctly, he just sort of like, he came from a power position. He had all that kinetic energy stored up, right? Yeah. And he just fucking jumped out, and he just swung, because I think he was looking away. He just sort of did a wild swing, and he just caught him clean. Holy shit. He catch him clean. It's like those arcade games, right? Those things, the arcade, where they got the punching bag down, and you run up and you hit it to try and, you hit that thing as hard as you can. That's what he did. He just closed his eyes and swung it. Absolutely popped him. Holy
there you go, Ryan. That was for you, Ryan Parrott. You asked for more sports talk. You're welcome. All right. While you're waiting for the next episode of us, make sure you tell a fellow comic book reader, friend, anybody who likes comics or even comic book movies, let them know about TLDR Comic Book Club, and make sure you leave a 5-star rating review on iTunes. If you listen anywhere else, make sure you leave the highest rating review that you possibly can. We really appreciate it. And until next week, Joe, Stay sexy.
You know it, baby.